Hello there, and welcome back to my workshop. This is boot bench show number 4. I'm making a boot bench for here in our workshop, and this is going to be an exciting show because we're going to assemble the bench on this show and get our first look at it. So, here's where we left off last time, and while you were away, I extended the back piece here, and I cut our bottom to size so that it fits into the dados along the bottom. Let's have a look at that extension, and here it is here. You can see the required rabbets on either end, and then over here on the bottom edge I put a rabbet, and that's going to form a shiplap, and it's going to join with a corresponding shiplap or rabbet along the top edge of this backboard here. We're going to get a better look at that in just a moment, but that's what we're doing. We also need to put a support piece, a board along here attached to the back that will support our seat. So that is that. Let's have a look at that support piece. Here it is here. Let me get this out of the way. It's two boards laminated together, and then I just planed it and cut it to length. And that's going to go along the back here. And then on top of that is going to be what I call our hinge board, and then we'll have a hinge that goes here and a hinge that goes there, and then the rest of the seat extends out this way like that. So that's the idea. Let me pull this back off and we'll get a better look at all these parts together. So here we are. Here is our shiplap joint. They go together like that. Our support board goes there. That'll be glued and nailed. And then our hinge board goes along like that. So that's the plan. Let's get out the glue and start putting this together. All right, give that time to dry and on to the next step. And we have our support board attached to our back panel now. That's glued on, and you can see here on the other side, I put some nails in here just to give it some added strength. Now, I'm using cut nails. I used these before in Japanese Toolbox Show number 2. There's a link below, you can check that out. But cut nails are very, very different from the round wire nails that we use today. And here is one here. They're actually four-sided, and they're sheared from a sheet of steel. And you can see along one dimension, they're the same thickness, but along the other dimension, they're wedge-shaped. And that gives it a whole lot more holding strength than the wire nails. So I want to use these for the added holding strength. There is one risk, however, and that is splitting, because that wedge shape can very easily split your board, particularly towards the end of a board. But there's a way around that, or a way to prevent that or reduce the chance of that happening, and that is to drill pilot holes and also orient the nail so that the wedge is going in this direction and not giving wedging action going in this direction along here. Now, how deeply do you make your pilot hole and what size? Well, that depends on the species of wood and the size of nail you're using. This is a 6-penny nail. And with a little testing, I found out that a drill bit 7/64 drilled 1 inch deep will give me the just the perfect pilot hole for holding this together and hopefully not splitting it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to assemble this. You haven't seen this yet. This is the bottom board. I cut this to size, and during assembly I'm going to plane a bevel along here so that it slides nicely into the dados we have along here. And then we're going to clamp it all together and nail it all together. So let's get started. And the nailing worked very well. I'm quite relieved. I was a little bit worried about splitting, but making the test joints I think really helped, and there was no splitting whatsoever. One thing you didn't really see very well in the video is that when I drilled these pilot holes, I actually tilted the drill and made my nails go in like this in sort of a dovetail fashion. Can you see that? Mm-hmm. And the purpose of that is so that they sort of form almost like dovetail interlocking joints. So they're more resistant to forces perpendicular to the joint line, and the belief is that it'll hold it on better. Now intuitively that makes sense. I don't know if anyone's ever done any testing to find out if that's true, but that's what I did. Now One other thing that I want to show you here is the support board here. I've made a laminated extension to it, just made it a little bit wider right in through here. And let me show you why I did that. Here's the hinge board. It's going to go like that. And with this extension here, this will serve to support the lid, the hinged lid, better. Before it would have been resting on just hinges, but now I've got the support back here. I think that's going to do a lot better of a job. So next step is going to be putting on our upper back panel. And let me see if I can get this together for you. I'll show you. It goes like that. So I'm going to nail that and then we'll come right back. Okay, the nailing went pretty well, but we had one little issue and I'm going to show you here. You look on the back here, all the nails went in beautifully, except for this one right here. I was about 1/4 of an inch of the way finished and it just bent right over. You can see it there, it just bent. I hit it really, really hard and it just bent. And I thought it was a knot or something like that. It wasn't. There's no knot on here. So it's a complete mystery to me. I'm not sure why that happened, but I'm glad that's the only time it happened. So I'll take it. But I just thought you'd like to see that. So a little bit of a curiosity there. Anyway, what we're going to do now is glue on our hinge board. So you're going to have to come around here. See if you can see what we're doing here. Well, look at you back here behind the workbench. Okay, let's get started here. I've got my hinge board ready to go, and it's going to go in like this. And I'm using my old trick again with the nails. They're just lightly tapped in, and they'll help this stay registered as I apply the glue. So if we're ready, we're going to go ahead and do it here. Got my glue.
Oh, sorry.
You all right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's enough. Ouch. Ow. That hurt. And if it bleeds, I'll be smearing blood all over this glue. Let's hope not. So far, so good. Okay, that's good. A little tap. Feels about right. Okay, so I've got some cleanup to do, but we'll let that dry and we'll get back to work. And our hinge board is on. I think it looks great. Now, about the hinges, let's have a look. I got a pair of them here. I got these online. They're butterfly hinges. And I think they're going to work out just great. When I got this, it actually had like a black sticky preservative or something on it. I'm not sure what it was. But to clean it off, I used this stuff, which is just a toilet bowl cleaner, but it happens to be 12% hydrochloric acid. It's extremely caustic stuff. But I used that to scrub this down to the bare metal. And now what we're going to do is use gun bluing solution. That's this right here. I've used this on a previous show. Maybe I'll put a link below. You can see that. And I've got some here in the cup. And what we're going to do is just paint a little of this on. You'll see right away what happens. Isn't that amazing? Mm-hmm. Really something. And I will keep applying this and reapplying this because it needs to soak in a little bit. You can see that. And I'll just keep doing that for about 15 minutes or so. And then what I wind up with, that's the before, here's the after. That's what I wind up with. Look at that. It's a beautiful patina on there. And then I just washed it off really good and hit it with a little bit of steel wool. And I'll wax that up later on. So really nice to do for finishes like this. So I'm going to finish up this one and then we'll be right back. And here is our lid or seat, depending on how you look at it. And I didn't cut it to size yet, but what I thought I would do is cut it to size, attach the hinges, and that would be that. But Jonine said, why don't you put a rounded edge over the front? And I thought about that, and I think it's a great idea. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to round over this front edge. And let me show you what I came up with here. Here's a test piece I did on a piece of scrap. Just a very simple round over with a fillet, an edge, and that's a nice touch. I think it defines the edge, and you have that really nice curve that I think will complement our arm curves very nicely. So the challenge is making this with the tools that I have available to me. I don't have any molding planes. So here's what we're going to do. As soon as I find, here they are, right in front of me. Okay. It's been a long day. All right. Now, okay. If you look along the edge here, sorry, you're going to have to look over here to see that. I just drew in pencil the shape that I need. You can see it there, it's just a round over and a little notch there. Mm-hmm. And that's our filleted molding. So first thing I'm going to do is cut a groove using my plow plane. Now this grain is going pretty much straight down the runway, but it does do this a little bit, so I may have some tear out. But I'm just going to take my chances here and hope for the best. Here we go. Set? Mm-hmm. Okay, so far so good. All right, I'm happy with that. That looks pretty good. And now what I'm going to do is just cut this corner down at a 45-degree angle. And I'm going to use a rather heavily cambered and thick set plane to do that. So here we go. Get this out of the way. Now I'm just going to check in here. I want to make sure that that fillet is nice and clean. I'm going to take my rabbit block and see if I need to hit any areas here. One spot in here. I think that got it. The rest looks good. I'm happy. Okay. Now, let's keep going. I'm going to work my way down to that line. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now, I've got 3 flats here, and what I'm going to do is take those corners down. So again, now in this corner here, I can't get too close to it, so I'm going to use my rabbit plane and come in like that. Okay, I rushed that a little, or maybe a lot, but that's our edge. Let's have a quick look at it here. I'll clean it up. I'll clean that up, but you can see it looks pretty good.
Look from the edge.
Good?
I can't see it.
Okay.
There
Good.
we go.
And with a little sanding, that's going to look great, and I could even just leave it kind of rough planed. That's nice too. It's handmade. So that's how that's done. We'll be right back. Okay, I cleaned this up a little bit, and I think it looks pretty good. And now it's time to attach battens. The battens are going to prevent this board from cupping throughout its lifetime. Here are the battens here. I quickly made them, just cut them to length, and then I actually used my planes to bevel these. It was actually a little faster, I think, than using a saw. So they're ready to go. I'm going to tack them in place. Do them one at a time here. I'm going to tack them in place, and I'm using a method called clinching. Clinching is a very, very old method for joining boards together. I did this in it was Japanese Toolbox number 2. There's a link below, and you can see me doing this in more detail. So I'll move along here, but well, I think you'll get the idea as we go. Start by drilling pilot holes. I'll do the outer ones first. Now, I'm going to cushion this a little bit. This is soft pine. This will prevent a lot of the tear out that occurs as the nail exits the batten side. See it there? Less tear out if I have it cushioned by that pine. Now what I'm going to do is nail them the rest of the way through. And I have this anvil here that's pretty handy for that kind of thing. It's got a hole in it. And I can just hammer it straight through here if I'm careful. Thank you. Thank you, dear, for my hammer.
You're welcome.
Can you see?
Mm-hmm.
Now what I'm going to do, bend these over. That and this one too. Kind of hard to do this from that angle. Okay. And we hammer them back in. Crude, but effective. Now I'll do the other one. Okay. Now I'm going to do two more, one here and one there, and then we come back. But I think that's going to keep that board nice and flat. Okay, now I know I just said that I'd be adding a third nail to the battens, but I had to look at it, and 2 nails is fine. So I went ahead and I put it all together, and here it is, our first look. The hinges went on very well, and the seat lifts up. How about that? So, I think it's pretty neat. What I'll be doing between now and the next time is all the things you do before finishing. So I'll be planing things flush, easing the edges, scraping and sanding and so forth. The question is, what am I going to be doing for a finish? And that's something I've been giving a lot of thought to. And I want to do something that's outside of my comfort zone. So I came up with something, and I'm still learning about it now. It's really out there, and I can't wait to get started on it. I will say that it is not something that involves 2-part epoxy. I know it's very popular right now, but I don't want you to get your hopes up and then be disappointed. It's actually something that's further out there than the epoxy thing. So that's all I'll leave you with. So until then, thanks for stopping by, and see you next time.
Wasn't that great?